What if I told you that John Kennedy gave a speech that might have sealed his fate? A speech about secrecy, powerful elites, and hidden forces controlling the government? A speech that some believe was so dangerous, it put a target on his back. On April 27, 1961, JFK addressed the American Newspaper Publishers Association in New York. At first glance, it seemed like a call for press freedom, but beneath the surface, it was something far more profound. He spoke of a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy, warning against secret societies that operated in the shadows, influencing governments, industries, and even the media itself. But just 2 years later, on November 22, 1963, Kennedy's life was cut short in a shocking public tragedy that left the world in disbelief. His death has fueled decades of speculation. Was it truly the work of one individual? Or was there a deeper, more complex force at play behind the scenes? Could this speech have been one of the reasons he was silenced? Some say this was just a coincidence. Others believe it was a warning the world failed to heed. Today, we're uncovering the truth behind JFK's forgotten speech and why it still matters. John Kennedy was more than just a president. He was a symbol of change. Elected in 1960 as the 35th President of the United States, JFK was young, charismatic, and full of bold ideas. He promised a new era of progress, leading the country through some of the most intense moments of the Cold War. But Kennedy's presidency wasn't just about space exploration, civil rights, or diplomacy. He was fighting battles behind the scenes, battles that made him powerful enemies. One of his earliest clashes was with the CIA after the disastrous Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961. The failed mission to overthrow Fidel Castro embarrassed the U.S. government, and Kennedy blamed the CIA for misleading him. He even vowed to shatter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. He also took a stand against big corporations, military contractors, and even the Federal Reserve, pushing for policies that threatened deeply rooted power structures. Some say he was challenging the elite, going against forces that had controlled the country from behind the scenes for decades. But JFK was not just fighting political battles. He saw something bigger, an invisible force shaping the nation. And in 1961, he decided to warn the world. On April 27, 1961, just months after taking office, John Kennedy delivered a speech that, at first glance, seemed to focus on the responsibilities of the press during the Cold War. But as he continued, his words took on a more ominous tone, one that would later fuel decades of speculation and conspiracy theories. Speaking before the American Newspaper Publishers Association at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York, Kennedy emphasized the importance of a free press, transparency, and the dangers of secrecy in government. He called on journalists to protect democracy. But then, his speech shifted toward something far more alarming. One of the most chilling lines? The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. Kennedy spoke of a threat hidden in the shadows, one that did not rely on conventional warfare, but on covert means to extend its power. There is a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence. These words have led many to ask, who or what was Kennedy warning us about? Some believe he was referring to the CIA, an agency that had already begun operating in the shadows, overthrowing governments and conducting secret experiments under projects like MKUltra. Others think he was exposing the influence of elite groups, such as the Illuminati, the Freemasons, or international banking cartels. Some analysts suggest JFK's speech was a direct warning about the military-industrial complex, a growing force in the U.S. that benefited from perpetual wars, espionage, and secrecy. Just days earlier, Kennedy had suffered a humiliating failure with the Bay of Pigs invasion, a CIA-led operation to overthrow Fidel Castro that went disastrously wrong. He was furious at the intelligence agencies and had already begun questioning their unchecked power. But Kennedy wasn't just talking about the Cold War or Soviet spies. He repeatedly emphasized the dangers of secret organizations operating outside the control of the public and even the government itself. He urged the press to resist censorship, expose hidden forces, and bring the truth to light. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. This wasn't just a general statement. It sounded like a direct warning, a message to the world that there were powerful forces operating behind the scenes, shaping policies, controlling institutions, and manipulating nations from the shadows. Then, just 2 years later, Kennedy's life was tragically cut short. Did he expose information that powerful forces wanted to keep hidden? Did his speech make him a threat? Was his passing truly the result of one individual's actions? Or was there a deeper, more concealed agenda at play? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: JFK's warning was never forgotten. John Kennedy's 1961 speech was not just a call for journalistic integrity. It was a direct challenge to the hidden power structures that operated beyond public scrutiny. His words exposed forces that had long worked outside the boundaries of democracy, using secrecy, manipulation, and coercion to shape global events. JFK's message was dangerous because it threatened some of the most powerful entities in the world. By demanding transparency, he was challenging corporate elites who controlled global finance. The world's financial institutions, major banking families, and international corporations had accumulated unprecedented control over governments and economies. Kennedy's push for monetary reform and fair economic policies threatened their grip on wealth and influence. Intelligence agencies like the CIA and FBI. Kennedy had already clashed with these agencies over the Bay of Pigs disaster and was deeply concerned about their unchecked power. The CIA, in particular, had evolved into a shadow government orchestrating coups, conducting covert operations, and influencing global events without the approval of elected officials. Secret military programs with no accountability. The Cold War had given rise to massive black budget operations, hidden from public oversight. These programs funneled billions of dollars into secret technologies, psychological experiments, and military-industrial expansion. Kennedy's push for greater government transparency was a direct threat to those who benefited from these covert projects. By calling out secrecy as a danger to democracy, JFK was making powerful enemies. Those who thrived in the shadows, whether in intelligence, finance, or industry, saw his vision of an open society as a direct assault on their control. Kennedy's words were not just a warning, they were an accusation. He knew that democracy could not survive if decisions were made in secret, behind closed doors, by figures who were never elected by the people. But history has shown that those who challenge the world's most powerful forces rarely survive. 2 years later, Kennedy was gone. Was it just a tragic coincidence? Or was his speech the final warning of a man who knew too much? John Kennedy's presidency was filled with bold decisions that defied the most powerful institutions of his time. In his short tenure, he made enemies within the banking system, intelligence agencies, and military-industrial complex, the same forces that thrived in secrecy. Just months before his untimely passing, JFK took 3 bold actions that some believe played a crucial role in shaping his fate. June 4, 1963. Executive Order 11,110. Kennedy signed an executive order that challenged the Federal Reserve, giving the U.S. Treasury the power to issue silver-backed currency. This move would have reduced the influence of private banking interests over the nation's money supply. By taking control away from the central banking system, JFK was threatening the financial elite who had controlled monetary policy for decades. October 1963. Plans to withdraw from Vietnam. JFK had begun secret discussions to end U.S. involvement in Vietnam, a move that directly opposed the military-industrial complex. The Vietnam War was not just a conflict, it was a business, generating billions for defense contractors. Kennedy's plan to withdraw troops would have derailed long-term war profits. Some believe this decision put him in direct conflict with powerful figures in Washington who wanted the war to continue. November 22, 1963. The tragedy in Dallas. Just weeks after these pivotal decisions, President Kennedy's journey was cut short during a public motorcade in Dallas, Texas. While the official account attributes the event to the actions of a lone individual, Lee Harvey Oswald, that explanation has sparked decades of debate. For many, JFK's outspoken stance against secrecy and his willingness to challenge powerful interests have led to lingering questions about whether his fate was truly coincidental. A president who stood against secrecy was silenced forever. Was it a tragic coincidence, or did his bold words and actions make him a threat to those in power? In the hours following JFK's tragic passing, an official narrative quickly took shape, one that would define history books for decades. According to the Warren Commission, the events were straightforward. A lone gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald, allegedly fired from the Texas School Book Depository. Oswald was said to have acted alone, with no broader conspiracy. Before he could testify, nightclub owner Jack Ruby fatally wounded Oswald, claiming it was to spare Jackie Kennedy from grief. But many Americans questioned this version of events. Almost immediately, doubts surfaced. Why were key witness testimonies disregarded? Why did the CIA withhold JFK-related documents for decades? How did Oswald, a former Marine with ties to U.S. intelligence, end up in the center of it all? Over time, alternative theories emerged. CIA involvement. Declassified files suggest Kennedy clashed with intelligence agencies. Some believe his push for reform made him a target. The speech connection. JFK's 1961 warning about secret societies fueled speculation that he had exposed too much. Robert Kennedy's suspicions. JFK's own brother, RFK, never fully accepted the official account. Before his own tragic end, he hinted at a larger plot. For years, government files on JFK remained classified, deepening the mystery. Was his death simply a turning point in history, or was it a warning to those who dare to challenge powerful institutions? More than 60 years after JFK's passing, the world reflects many of the concerns he warned about in 1961. In his speech, he spoke about secrecy, hidden influence, and powerful forces shaping global affairs behind closed doors. Today, those warnings feel more relevant than ever. Intelligence agencies operate without full transparency. Organizations like the CIA, NSA, and FBI continue to conduct classified operations, with many of their activities only coming to light decades later. Surveillance programs, covert military actions, and political interference often occur beyond the control of elected leaders. Corporate elites hold immense influence. Billionaires, multinational corporations, and lobbying groups shape policies, control media narratives, and impact elections. The divide between the wealthy elite and everyday citizens continues to expand, raising questions about who truly holds power in modern democracies. Government secrecy has only deepened. Declassified records reveal how much information is routinely withheld from the public. From hidden military experiments to classified war strategies, many decisions remain behind closed doors, far from public scrutiny. JFK's speech wasn't just about his time. It was a warning about the future. Many believe he foresaw the very reality we face today. But was his assassination simply about removing a leader? Or was it about preventing a shift toward transparency and true democracy? Was JFK trying to warn us about the world we live in now? And if he was, did we listen? More than 60 years after JFK's tragic death, his 1961 speech on secrecy and hidden power remains one of the most analyzed and debated addresses in history. Was he merely warning about Cold War threats, or was he exposing something far more dangerous, something that put him in the crosshairs of powerful forces? Despite multiple investigations, key JFK-related files remain classified. In recent years, the U.S. government has gradually released documents, yet many pages are still heavily redacted or completely withheld from public view. If the official story is true, that Oswald acted alone, why are these files still considered too sensitive to be fully disclosed? What secrets remain hidden? Every few years, new pieces of evidence emerge, adding layers to the mystery. Conflicting eyewitness testimonies, missing records, declassified CIA operations, and statements from former officials all suggest that JFK's warnings were more than just rhetoric. They were a direct challenge to those operating behind the scenes. His words about a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy continue to raise questions. And as government surveillance grows, corporate influence expands, and secrecy deepens, many believe JFK wasn't just speaking about his time. He was warning us about what was coming. If crucial information was buried, will we ever uncover the full truth? And what else did JFK know that the world may never be allowed to learn? JFK's 1961 speech wasn't just a warning. It may have been the reason he was silenced. He spoke out against secrecy, hidden power structures, and forces operating beyond democracy. And just 2 years later, he was assassinated. Was it a coincidence? Or was he eliminated because he revealed too much? Even today, his words remain hauntingly relevant. Governments operate behind closed doors, intelligence agencies act without oversight, and powerful elites shape global events. JFK tried to warn us, but was anyone listening? What do you think? Was JFK assassinated for what he knew? Are secret societies still controlling the world today? Share your theories in the comments. And remember, JFK wasn't the only leader who spoke out against hidden power. Others tried, and they also faced the ultimate consequence. But that's a story for another time. If you want to uncover more secrets they don't want you to know, subscribe to The Hidden Angle, because the truth is always deeper than it seems.